forget, okay, but I want you that if we put in one category species, okay, species, and if we see India, we see world, okay, and we see percentage in India. Okay, so in this, so if you see all mammals on planet Earth, okay, all species which belong to which category? Mammals. Then in the world, four known species, if we see known to science, 4,629 different mammal species are known to science in the world. Out of this, 350 of them are in India, meaning India accounts for 7.6% of all mammalian diversity. Okay, all mammalian diversity. Similarly, if you see for birds, okay, so in the world you will find 9,702 different variety or species of known birds, and out of that, out of that 1,224 of them are found in India, and India accounts for 12.6%, okay, 12.6% of avian diversity. Bird diversity is known as avian, AVIAN, avian diversity of the world. 7.6% of mammalian diversity of the world. Okay. Then if you see reptiles, if you see reptiles, then you will find that in the world 6,550 different species or varieties of reptiles. Out of those, 408 of them are found in India, and India accounts for 6.2% of reptilian diversity. Okay, reptilian diversity. Similarly, right, similarly, if we go further, amphibians, which can stay on land and water both, amphibians. Now, in the world, 4,522 different variety of amphibians, are found. Out of that, 197 of them are found in India, and thus India accounts for 4.4% of amphibians diversity. Okay. When it comes to fish, and in India we have sea coast and perennial rivers and lakes, ponds, big water bodies, salt lakes, backwaters, swampy area, marshy tract of land, and all such things are there. So if you see fish in the world, 21,730 different variety of fish, 2,546 different variety of fish found in India, and 11.4% of that diversity is in India. If you see, these are, these are for fauna. Okay, these are for fauna. Within this, if you see invertebrates, now 11,68,623, okay, and then 71,389. This you have every right to forget. You can forget. Okay, I will tell you what you should remember. 6.1% of the diversity. So this is all about fauna. Now when it comes to flora, when it comes to flora, and within flora, plants. So more than 2,50,000, okay, sorry, 2,50,000 different variety of plants found in the world. Around 1,500 of them are found, and we account for 6%. We account for 6%. And particularly, this is flowering plants, okay, because we will know about the diversity based on flowering plants. Okay, so I just want you to have, you need to remember this only. Mammals, India accounts for 7.6% of mammalian diversity. Birds, 12.6% of avian diversity. Okay, fish, the highest is avian diversity in India. Okay, birds in comparison with world. Then is fish diversity in comparison with world. Okay, so India accounts for 11.4% of the fish diversity. PC diversity, many a times it is referred as. Okay, then reptiles, this percentage 6.2%. Amphibians, slightly less is the diversity as far as amphibians are concerned. Okay, but flora, if you see, we account for 6%. Invertebrates, 6.1%. Don't torture and trouble yourself with the facts which I have given you. Okay, the facts are only for sense of completion. Concepts are very important. I want you to have this awareness that India accounts for, significantly larger percentage of avian diversity, and that is 12.6, then fish diversity 11.4, and then is mammalian diversity, which is 7.6%, and when it comes to plant, then flowering plant, 6% of the global diversity, floral diversity is what we account. But we are, right, we are one of the mega biodiverse country in the world. And, we enacted a very important law in the name of Biodiversity Act of 2002. So we have many environmental law, but to protect the biodiversity, we have especially enacted Biological Diversity Act. We have Forest Protection Act, we have Wildlife Protection Act, okay, we have Forest Conservation Act, we have, there to protect the Manav Sekhri is saying that 2,50,000. Okay, one more zero you add. 15,000 flora. Okay, 15,000. We account for 15,000, 6%. Yes, coming back. Biological diversity Act. Okay, Act. And under this we have established NBA, National Biological Diversity Authority. Okay, National Biological Diversity Authority with its headquarter in Chennai. Okay, with its headquarter in Chennai. So we will talk about that. This act is of 2002. Okay, so this is one important environmental law. We have many other. Okay, we have Wildlife Protection Act, we have, we have Forest Protection Act, we have Forest Conservation Act, okay, and like that, but we have also a very special law for biological diversity protection in the name of Biological Diversity Protection Act. So India is one of the mega biodiverse country in the world, and we are one of the mega biodiverse country in the world because, because in India we have 102 and more than 102 national parks. We have more than 516 plus wildlife sanctuaries. Okay, so we have 102 national parks, we have 516 wildlife sanctuaries, and we have 18 biosphere reserves. Okay, 18 biosphere reserves, and then we have conservation and conservation projects and conservation schemes related with various species like Project Tiger, Project Asiatic Elephant, project for rhinos, project for protecting the Gangetic dolphin, project for protecting a snow leopard, project for protecting gharial, project for protection of great Indian bustard, project for protecting land-tailed macaque, right? Project for protecting Kashmir stag, project for protecting dugong, and so on and so forth. So many things we are doing, but that speaks that we are one of the mega biodiverse country in the world. Okay, so in India, 102 national parks, 516 wildlife sanctuaries, 18 biosphere reserve, many elephant reserves are there, tiger reserves are there. Yesterday only we have seen that we have 46 Ramsar wetland sites in India. Okay, 14 Ramsar wetland sites in India. And one thing you should remember now, Gujarat is the state in India with largest area of Ramsar sites. I forgot to tell you. Okay, so Gujarat is now the state in India with largest area, the way Bolivia is the country in the world with largest area under Ramsar site. So number wise different, but area wise different. That state in India is Gujarat. Second is West Bengal. Okay, second is West Bengal. Okay, so that's there. You just tell me whether I have told you the difference between, the difference between national park, wildlife sanctuaries or not. Yeah, national park, wildlife sanctuaries or not. I have told you what is national park, how is it different from wildlife sanctuary, how is that different from, how is that different from biosphere reserve. Yes or no? Yeah. Have I told this in the beginning, in the first lecture, second lecture, in the name of foundation? Yes or no? Tell me quickly. Siddhant is saying no. Anurag is also saying no. Okay. What about others? Tell me. We will talk about them then. A lot of question. Every year there will be a question on national park, wildlife sanctuaries and biosphere reserve. And you should take, genuine interest. So let us see, on one side is sanctuary. And this is national park. National Park, and third is Biosphere Reserve. Biosphere Reserve. Okay. Let us for a while, try to understand this. Okay. Let us for a while try to understand the difference which is there. Okay, difference which is there. Now, when it comes to sanctuary, right, when it comes to sanctuary, wildlife sanctuary, okay, so sanctuary is a species specific conservation effort, okay, so it is a species oriented conservation, species oriented conservation effort. In through all the three, whether it is a sanctuary or whether it is a national park or whether it is a biosphere reserve, we are trying to conserve, protect habitat, forest, wildlife, and other component of nature. But when it comes to sanctuary, sanctuary is a species oriented conservation effort, meaning what? We try to protect a particular species through that, protected area. Okay, so it's species specific. Whereas, right, whereas national park is a habitat centric conservation effort. Habitat centric. So we not only want to, right, we not only want to protect a species, but everything which is required for protection of the habitat of that species is the idea in national park. Okay, that is what is the idea which we have in the national park. And when it comes to biosphere reserve, it's ecosystem oriented, all forms of life, ecosystem oriented conservation effort, and within this we want to protect, the natural as well as cultural landscape, natural as well as cultural landscape. Okay, so biosphere reserve is, is ecosystem oriented, and we want to protect and conserve the natural as well as cultural landscape within that, right, within that. So it's ecosystem oriented. So sanctuary, wildlife sanctuary is species oriented, national park is habitat centric, biosphere reserve is, right, biosphere reserve is ecosystem oriented, but within that we want to conserve natural and cultural landscape both, right, landscape both. Now I would just like you, I would just like you okay, so I would just like you to know this, right, to know this, that if you see, if you see national park, okay, if you see sanctuary first, if you see sanctuary, then you will find sanctuary boundaries are not sacrosanct. Okay, boundaries are not sacrosanct, and within, right, and within this wildlife sanctuary, you will find that there can be some private property also. Okay, there can be some private property also. So boundaries are not that sacrosanct. Okay, that is what you will find in sanctuary, that very well defined boundaries of sanctuary, not sacrosanct, and whatever is within the boundary is not necessarily that would be owned only by government. Okay, maybe some private property ownership can be there, but they will be asked to enforce the mandatory or the law for better protection of that particular species for which that sanctuary is. So boundaries are not sacrosanct in wildlife sanctuary, but when it comes to national park, boundaries are fixed by legislation. Boundaries are fixed by legislation. So law will be there. Okay, law will be there, and boundaries will be fixed. Boundaries will be fixed. And even in Biosphere Reserve, you will find boundaries fixed by law. So very sacrosanct. Boundaries fixed by legislation. Boundaries fixed by legislation. Okay. So that is right, that is something which you should remember. Now one thing which I would just like you, one difference you will find. If we see, the wildlife sanctuaries in India, 516 which are there, size range if we see, area wise, size range if we see, it is between 0.61, if we see sanctuary, 0.61 to 7,818 square kilometers. So the smallest sanctuary is of 0.61, largest is of, so this is the range. Okay. So there, when it comes to national park, you will find it to be between 0.04 to 3,162, square kilometers. Okay, square kilometers. Okay, square kilometers. Can you see this? All of you? Yes or no? Tell me. Okay. Similarly, if you see for Biosphere Reserve, right? Similarly, if you see for Biosphere Reserve, then, right, then what you will find, if you see it for Biosphere Reserve, then in India, if we see, this is very large in comparison, and the smallest of the Biosphere Reserve in India is over 5,670 square kilometer. 5,670 square kilometers. Okay. But Biosphere Reserve is what? It's a ecosystem oriented conservation effort in which we are making attempts and effort to protect the natural and the cultural landscape, natural and the cultural landscape. And not only this, right, not only this, what I would just like you, what I would just like you to remember, that if we see this national park, okay, if we see this national park, then you will find that biosphere reserves, national park and sanctuaries will overlap. Within one biosphere reserve you will find maybe 2-3 national parks and sanctuary, and you may find other way around that one sanctuary and national park overlaps. Okay, tiger reserves and national park will have over. So it's not that they have very, you can say, separate boundaries. Sometime overlappings are also there, sometime overlappings are also there. So what am I interested in telling you, that you should be fully aware that in India we have wildlife sanctuaries, we have national parks, we have biosphere reserves. I would just like you, I would just like you to have this awareness. Let me just tell you, when it comes to biosphere reserve, now one by one let's go. When it comes to biosphere reserve, now this biosphere reserve, this biosphere reserve, if you see, is based on, this protection or conservation is based on core, buffer, and transition. Core, buffer, transition strategy. Okay, core, buffer, transition strategy. Now, what you will find, that first this may be the core belt, okay, and then all around the core belt will be the buffer zone, core belt, buffer zone, and then outside the buffer zone, this is the transition zone. All around the buffer zone, you will find the transition zone. Transition zone. Okay, transition zone. Now, when it comes to core area, okay, this is the most protected area in the biosphere reserve, right? When it comes to core area, this is the most protected area, most protected area. Highest degree of protection is in the core belt, most protected area, and this will have endemic plants and animals, endemic plants and animals, and within this core belt, within this core belt, what you will find, that it is the repository of genetic reservoirs, genetic reservoir, genetic reservoirs, And the most important thing about the core belt in the biosphere reserve, that it is free from human interference. Free from human interference. Free from human interference. Okay. And the protection in the core belt of the biosphere reserve will be like, the national park. Okay, it will be like the national park or well protected area under wildlife protection. Okay, wildlife protection. So in the core belt, what you will find? Okay, in the core belt, what will you find? Elimination of all human activities. You can write elimination of all human activities. Okay, elimination of all human activities. Okay. So in the core belt, we have kept the core belt in the biosphere reserve free from human interference, and we have attempted eliminating the human activity in the core belt. But when it comes to buffer zone, okay, when it comes to buffer zone, okay, so what you will find, buffer zone actually surrounds the core belt, core zone. Okay, and what we do, right, what we do in the buffer zone, we have opted rationalization of human activity. Rationalization of human activities. Okay, what is the meaning of rationalization of human activity? That we will not allow, we will not allow such activities which may have severe adverse impact even on core belt. So in this, we are not restricting completely human activities, but we are rationalizing human activities. So in this belt, you will have limited tourism, we can have, we can have restoration activities. So let us say that in the buffer zone there is a water body which has dried up. So we will make some effort to bring the water back in that water body. So restoration activities can be there. Then there can be some fishing. If there is a water body, fishing can be there, grazing can be there. Cattle and animals can be taken in the buffer zone for grazing. Okay, grazing, but only such activities which will not impact adversely the core belt are permitted and allowed, and this is why we say this is the belt in which rationalization of human activities. Okay, rationalization of human activities. Okay, then is the transition zone, right? Then is the transition zone, and in biosphere reserve, in biosphere reserve, we say that this transition zone, right, this transition zone is zone of cooperation. Zone of cooperation. So this will include settlement. You will find many people settled in transition zone in the biosphere reserve.